think I'm going to deviate from these remarks a little bit over the course of the next couple of minutes, but I received a phone call a couple of weeks ago from a David Merritt from Bethania Moravian Church. He introduced himself by saying that his church had been supplying King Outreach with handmade quilts for years, and I immediately made the connection. David invited me to come speak this morning, and I told him I thought I could do so, but I had to check with the boss first. And he said, I completely understand. He said, I've been married for 42 years. So I laughed and I said, well, I had him beat because I've been married for 44 years. And my boss said, it's good to go this morning. So, later that week, I told David White, our board chair, that I was going to be speaking here. And he said, you know that David Merritt had your job before Mike Culler did. I didn't.
Yeah.
So then everything clicked, because since I'd been at King Outreach, I couldn't understand why a church in Forsyth County kept making and sending all these wonderful quilts to us. Now it all made sense and how it all came together. So what I can say to you right now is thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't tell you how much these quilts mean to the individuals and the families that receive them, particularly when we had that nasty cold snap back in January. There have been multiple instances where people have actually cried because of the gift that you have made available to them. You are providing warmth against the cold. You're providing shelter from the storm. And what an impact that has on people's lives. I know these quilts are labors of love, both yours and Christ's love. God bless all that you do, and I have to tell you on behalf of King Outreach Ministry, I give you a heartfelt thanks for all that you've done for us over the years. Now, I assume most of you know about King Outreach, but for those of you who may be new, think of us as crisis control for the western half of Stokes County. Okay? We deal with people who need food, who need clothing, who need a power bill paid because they have a disconnect notice. They need fuel oil this time of year. Okay? So what we do is work with them to provide them what we can. Okay? And we've been blessed. God has blessed King Outreach Ministry with so much over the years. And it's something that we are privileged to be able to do. King Outreach will be celebrating its 34th year on Valentine's Day, February 14th. And it's amazing what we can do with pretty limited resources. People ask me, what's it like running a ministry? And it was probably the last thing in the world I ever thought I'd be doing. If you had asked me 40 years ago if I would be running a ministry, I would have laughed and said, no, there's no way. But it's amazing how God guides us. I was at a time in my life last year when I said, you know, I'm called to do something different. And I happened to stumble upon the need for King Outreach for a new executive director. And all of a sudden, I was it. And it just amazes me how my life has been transformed, particularly in dealing with the type of issues that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. The good news is I am never bored. I have no idea what's going to happen every morning at 9 o'clock when we open that front door. But it is challenging, and it's a blessing to be able to do this. Being a long-time board member and the past board chair of the Food Bank of Northwest North Carolina, I thought I knew something about hunger. But after a couple of months at King Outreach, I realized I knew very little. It's not until you're on the front line dealing with these issues, that you understand what's going on. We don't see it for the most part because most, if not all of us, we are in a social network where these issues aren't necessarily apparent. We don't know people that are hungry. We don't necessarily know people who are unemployed and can't pay their bills. So if we don't see it, it's not there. Or if it is, it's easy to ignore. It's an issue for other people to deal with. We don't see the poverty that results in the hunger. We don't see the impact on the children. During the school year, King Outreach Ministry provides backpacks to 2 of the 3 King middle schools. And these are for children who qualify and get food for the weekend. We distribute it on Fridays. We are currently providing 67 meals per week, while a church in King supplies the other middle school. This help only goes to families who are willing to say that they need help. So you have to wonder how many people are too proud to ask for help. At times, I often feel like we are only applying Band-Aids to a situation. And I said that to one of our board members, and she responded, well, if you've got a gushing wound, you need at least a Band-Aid. And that's true. But it begs the question of how do we get to the root issues that result in the situation that our clients are in. So it becomes challenging, it becomes difficult. You want to help people, but sometimes you don't have the resources to do it. But you do what you can. You make referrals, you get them to DSS, you get them to the Salvation Army. You find ways to help people. And that is key to what we do. And so sometimes you get a little depressed, you start feeling down about yourself, because you can't see where things are going and where the benefit is. But in the last 2 months, I've had 3 people come into my office. One lady handed me an envelope that had $300 in cash in it. She simply said that we had helped her last year when she was in need. She was now back on her feet, and she wanted us to have this gift. Then the second gentleman walked in, and he asked me for a small amount of help with his power bill because he had a disconnect. And he said that this would be the last help he would need. Earlier in the month, we had given him food for his baby daughter because his wife had left both of them. We had referred him to one of our employment agencies in town who had got him a great job. That's a success. We were able to help and see a positive result. The third woman showed up with 44 pounds of food in a couple of plastic bags. And she said this was to replace the food that we had given her 2 years ago. And it was her way of saying thank you. I was so touched by that. We do make difference in people's lives. And that is so meaningful to all of us at King Outreach. And to any of the organizations that do the similar type of work, not only in Stokes County, but in Forsyth County and the surrounding regions. It's why we do what we do. Jesus calls us to serve. And that's the passion that drives us at King Outreach. Jesus taught about love and compassion, but he didn't just talk about it. He demonstrated it. He touched the untouchables. He humbled himself, and he washed the feet of his disciples. He talked to the outcasts, and he healed those without hope. Pastor Todd Lusk of Olive Grove Baptist Church in Pinnacle wrote a little article for our newsletter, and he said, "We love our stuff. We love our time. We love our lives. The greater question is, do we love Christ more? Because if we do, our lives need to do more than just talk about these characteristics of Christ." I'm going to take my King Outreach hat off right now and just say, There are many faith-based organizations in our community that need your help. Find one that you can help and then volunteer. All of us, and by us I mean nonprofit organizations, we need volunteers desperately. And let me give you an example. One of the challenges that I have at King Outreach is that the average age of our volunteers is about 75 to 78. Okay? And up until 4 months ago, our oldest volunteer was 102. And she came in every Tuesday morning. Marietta. Okay. And one day, she walked up to me. Now, Marietta's maybe this tall. And she walked up to me and she goes, "Is there an age limit to working here?" And I thought she was talking about getting her grandchildren or great-grandchildren into volunteer. And I said, "No, you're 14, 15, 16, and the parents are with them. I have no problem with that." She goes, "No, I'm talking about me." I said, "Marietta, you can volunteer as long as you want to, as long as you're happy being here." I have one of my interviewers is 98. Okay? Delightful, dedicated volunteers. But with age come other things, and people, we turn over our volunteers. So we need to find the next generation of volunteers. It's critical to all of us who work in the nonprofit area, and particularly in faith-based organizations. So if you're not sure what to do about volunteering, there are 2 agencies in Forsyth County that do a wonderful job of helping you find the right opportunity. One is called Hands On Northwest North Carolina, and the other organization is called Love Out Loud. They would love to talk with you. Matter of fact, some of you, if you're computer savvy, you can go online and find these organizations yourself and find the opportunities that are available. These are great organizations dedicated to making our communities better places to live. Going back to what Pastor Lusk wrote, what are we called to do? Most importantly, we are called to feed the hungry, clothe the naked, heal the sick. It's easy to talk about it or to just write a check. It is a more difficult challenge to actually make the personal effort to do something about it. Are we Christians of words, or are we Christians of action? All these beautiful quilts are the result of Christians of action. You bring hope and warmth to people in need. What a wonderful example for all of us. You have blessed so many people with your actions, and we at King Outreach are very grateful for all that you have done. We can make a difference. It means for us to get out of our comfort zones a little bit. Heaven knows, I never thought I'd be running an outreach ministry. You talk about getting out of your comfort zone. But once you do it, once you take that first step and say, I want to volunteer, you then become a Christian of action. And that is what Christ calls us to do. God bless this congregation, and thanks be to God.